There's not any event that you can say defines Glenrock. But Glenrock's connected to so much of Wyoming's history, almost like a spider web. Glenrock, Wyoming is located in the Platte River Valley. Even though it's not well known, it's probably one of the most historic towns in the state of Wyoming. Being in the valley of the Platte, the ancient people, the original Native Americans, would follow the game animals through this valley, and so it was very prominent for campsites, with all the Native people going clear back to the days of the mammoth hunters. Coming into the more modern era, which for me would be the late 1700s, early 1800s, that's when the European interaction started to occur, and the Native American tribes here started to gather more horses, and with the horses they become more mobile and better hunters. And the Platte River Valley, being the home of buffalo and elk and every animal known, this was prime, pristine hunting ground. As the Oregon Trail started to progress, Deer Creek was the main camping ground for the pioneers. When the Mormons got here, Brigham Young, they went and they caught baskets of fish out of Deer Creek. And Brigham Young declared this a heaven-sent place. Plus they found bituminous coal in the banks along the Deer Creek. They would mine the coal here in Glenrock for their blacksmith shop at the Mormon Ferry up in Casper. In 1851, because of the coal and the abundance of resources in the Deer Creek Valley, they started to build a supply station. In 1855, Thomas Twist was the Indian agent at Fort Laramie. He had hired Joseph Bissonette as an interpreter. He came in 1856 and established a trade station on the trail. Bissonette's trading post was used as a home station when the Pony Express came through. Well, in 1861, when the telegraph station came through, they built the first telegraph station there. And so in 1862, the military was sent in here, and it was the 11th Ohio Cavalry. They built Deer Creek Station around the telegraph station, with Bissonette's trading post across the road from it. There are many, many Oregon Trail diaries that mention Deer Creek Station. And along the way, they talk about the hardships, because at the time they wanted to get cooking, so they would unload everything that wasn't necessary. And the trail was said to be littered with cast-off items. The Oregon Trail was rough coming through here. There are more known graves along the pioneer trails in Converse County, Wyoming, than in any other county in any other state along the trail system. In the 1880s is when Glenrock actually came to be. The Missouri-Fremont Elkhorn Railroad was coming north. And of course, anytime there's a railroad going, that's big business. So there would be mining camps. And the first mining camp they called Mercedes. In 1885, William Nuttall came in here to Mercedes and started another camp, because he's the one that started the actual real modern mining in Box Elder Canyon. They named the town Nuttall after him. And it was at that same time that John Higgins, who built the building that we're in right now, he came to the Deer Creek Valley in 1885. The railroad had reached Douglas in 1886, and in 1887 it came to Glenrock. And where the rock and the glen is, west of town, is where the original railroad depot, that was the end of the line. The people decided, well, we're going to have a regular post office. We need to have an official town name. And so they decided on Glenrock for the rock and the glen, Glenrock. With the railroad depot being right across from it, John Higgins started to build different mercantile businesses, and of course, as a township, it built and the town of Glenrock came to be. Glenrock was just a rail town, you know, and a cattle town. Coal, you know, they had the coal mines. Well, in 1913, that all changed. In 1913, they discovered oil in the Big Muddy Anticline. 1916, Merit Oil drilled the first real well out in the Big Muddy oil field. At that time, the Big Muddy oil field was one of the largest oil fields in the continental United States. With the energy boom coming, you know how Wyoming is with booms, John Higgins decided that he was going to build an establishment for his wife. And so in 1916, he built the Higgins Hotel. Josephine died in 1924, and it really screwed John up. He died 2 years later. They never had any children, so it was kind of a quandary. He bequeathed his entire estate of about $500,000. And so when he bequeathed this to the state of Wyoming, John owned oil wells out in the Big Muddy oil field. And so those oil wells directly funded the University of Wyoming in the 1920s. If a person was to come to Glenrock today, especially in the summer, there's a lot of different things that Glenrock has to offer. And if you get up into Box Elder Canyon, probably one of Glenrock's best kept secrets. In 1920, the county, Converse County, appealed to Congress wanting to take possession of this canyon for its natural beauty. They compared it with the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone and the Grand Canyon itself for its beauty. Congress authorized that, and Converse County Park is what it's called now, but that's Box Elder Canyon. There's not any event that you can say defines Glenrock, but Glenrock's connected to so much of Wyoming's history, almost like a spider web. The events that happened in Glenrock, Wyoming are like a ripple in time because the impact happened in Glenrock, but the ripple went out and affected far and wide. There are many, many different occurrences where what happened in Glenrock affected the history of so many places.